to Relay.
Okay. Hello. Here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Relay Station. It's that time of the week where we rude dudes relay the week's cool news bereft of butt tattoos and all things loose goose, moose, juice, hoose, booze, poos, groose, scoos, use.
Okay. Thank you for joining us. And before you leave, we're gonna try and get David to stop. Also, how do you know I don't have a butt tattoo?
I mean, you didn't the
lights
last time you were here.
those times.
I'm still on the course.
Yeah, as we were...
So-
Still on the thing.
Go ahead, Shim.
When are
Go
we
ahead.
gonna
Anyway,
depict-
I'm just
when are we
gonna
gonna
move on
depict-
right on past that.
When are we going to depict Eris giving us all oral sex?
Next week on Relay Station.
We're not going to do that, sure, because we've got a very
We have toys to sell.
We have a very lucrative T-shirt business. You can buy our T-shirts at relaythisisaT-shirt.com.
If you guys see it,
That's right.
I kind of genuinely want an Eris toy just to see if I could use it as a voodoo doll.
All right, it's
So, Eris, you're about to feel
yeah.
a small prick. So what else is new?
Wow. Welcome, Shiver, back to the podcast.
Oh yeah, hi.
Making up for lost time.
Oh. And this is what he's like on air. Imagine what happens before the show even starts. It's great.
Oh.
I've never seen Eris turn a shade of beetroot red before, but now I have.
All right, hello everyone. I hope you've had good weeks. We've had it's been I don't know where the time went this week. I feel like it was a really busy week, but I don't think it was. So I'm sort of just lost. This is the show where we talk about do we talk about on this one?
So back in 2012, a guy named Chris Roberts decided he was gonna make a new universe or something. So we talk about that?
I genuinely thought we were on the same wavelength there, and we were going to go back in 2012. There was this time I was in a wooden cabin, and I only had a few ingredients to spare, so I learned how to make this dish. And then we were going to go into the history of the cabin, the dish, and then eventually get to the recipe.
Well, you see, 412 years ago, someone discovered that if you curdle milk just right, it turns into this really nice type of cheese 4 books later, and that's how I make Kraft dinner.
which game is it?
That's probably true.
Hate. Just give me the recipe.
And the really weird thing is, the curdling process in comparison is really quite fast. You could say it was so fast it was past your eyes.
Boy.
That was good. Do you like? I have to know. Do you have like this catalog in your brain that when someone says something and it's like cheese, pasteurize, pun, go? Like, do you have like this?
Yes, I call it Pun Forge.
Pick the first one that shows up.
Oh no.
Fast
Why
cart.
did that shiver back on the show? Oral sex.
Yep. Exactly that.
Yeah,
Yep.
of course.
That's what we're going with. Okay. Star Citizen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
Oh, that thing. Yeah, we're gonna talk about
That's
the
still
Star
a
Citizen.
thing.
That's the rumor. Yeah.
Strangely enough, and I know that this is hard to believe, but every single show that we have ever done, Star Citizen has actually been fractionally more of a thing. Every week. It gets to be more and more of a thing. It's crazy.
It's
What kind of a fraction? Like
it's so,
3/5?
it's so slow that it's hard to even measure. But yes.
The one with like the sky and a roller coaster going into a lunch into a Happy Meal.
So, this week there was lots of interesting little bits of information. We got some leaks, which I'm sure David's not thrilled about.
There were leaks?
Um,
I don't know. I didn't see any.
We got to see bits and pieces of arson because people posted them.
I mean, I think people are. Yeah, sorry, Fast Cart. There is a background conversation. My daughter is playing video games with friends, and also Shiver just keeps interrupting. That's where the background conversation is coming from.
I was going to stick up for you, but now I'm not so sure I fucking want to.
Damn it! For once.
I'm just going to go with, of course, now Fast Cart's got fully functional hearing. Now.
I want to know how you were going to stick up for me.
Ride a duck or an evil duck?
Well, you're always going to have to wonder now.
That is going to go
Yeah,
with me
of course.
to my grave.
Mine.
The wondering.
So,
Hey.
of course, in ISC we had all the stuff we're about to show you. Why talk about it now when we can talk about it when it's on the screen? But on Star Citizen Live, we had a bunch of discussions about gameplay mechanics. That was pretty interesting. The EU gameplay feature team had an hour-long discussion. They talked about deep space probes and refining and refueling and scanning and a bunch of other things. I would recommend going if you're one of those people who's desperate for hearing about the gameplay progress. Go and watch that video because it's pretty interesting. One of the things they talked about was how the things in Star Citizen using resources. So like ships using resources, players using resources, buildings using resources, and so on. Apparently they've had somebody working on that for a very long time now. It required a big change to the way the game was programmed. Unsurprisingly. Yeah. Go watch that if you didn't get to see it already. It's a good one.
Do we want to hop over to the videos and look through ISC this week?
Yes.
All right, here we go. Fair amount of talk this week on the events, the dynamic events and changes that are coming to Xenothreat. And I'm glad they're fixing them up.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what they were supposed to do, right? They ran Xenothreat. They learned all the things that didn't work quite the way they wanted them to, and they refined the event, and they're gonna run it again.
I'm
Almost like they were prototyping and testing something that's actively in development that they could later work on and change and use in different imaginative ways.
Does sound like that, doesn't it, Shiver?
Why is that ship so ugly? Ugh. Why does it have like why are there mid wings? What are those mid wings even for? Ridiculous. Anyway.
This back gets blown off and you still need backup wings.
But it's also got front wings. Why does it need front, mid, and
The
back
mid
wings?
wings and the back wings get blown off, and you got front wings as backups.
Too many
Oh my
wings.
god! It would not be a Relay Station episode without David hating a ship.
But it's even got double mid wings. Look at that. They're like, oh, I'm gonna go up. I'm gonna go down. Floop, 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 floop. It looks like they're like.
Just in case the top or the bottom wings get blown off, you've got backup mid wings.
Yeah, really good that they're updating the dynamic events. I was sort of confused by one of the things they said in the episode where they were saying that they're going to sort of use like one weekend will be this and one weekend will be this and one weekend will be this, and I had sort of hoped that they'd just be a bit more dynamically run, like,
They will eventually.
but
Yeah, eventually, but they've got to get
That's gonna be
test
part
different
of.
varieties of things, find out what's really messed up in each kind of variety of it, and then they can mix and match between them. Because these are just like the initial stages. These are going to be like the basic things. So Xenothreat is the equivalent of a zombie horde in an MMO that just randomly appears. You got to fight them off the zombies. Blah, done. Mix up, then they'll be testing out some other thing, and then eventually they'll be able to mix and match different bits and have relatively unique events
Yeah, of
dynamically.
course. And also, these events will also be triggered. They'll be triggered by the universe simulation eventually, but of course that's not fully in yet. So, yeah, they kind of have to
Got
do
a
it
lot-
manually
look-
right now.
It is literally learning to walk before you can run.
Yeah.
And let's face it, Star Citizen barely runs.
yeah, I think
That's
I think they actually need to get to running first. Running is pretty important for a
The
game.
yeah, right. Should be interesting to see how we do with Orison once it's in. Ninetales Lockdown. The one that was spoiled by Tony Zervek.
I sort of like what this one sounds like, and I'm hoping it ends up as an actual fight over a space station, like inside the space station.
Don't hit the.
I think probably my favorite part of Xenothreat was actually going to the derelict spaceships and actually having to shoot people on them, and there being like some actual FPS combat just there. And I'd really like to see more of that. I still think that the FPS combat in Star Citizen is horribly lacking and really, really needs to be fixed up. But I want to see more of what they do as they expand it.
Yeah, for sure. And that's like these type of events are great for that too. You get localized testing of where you're at currently.
Well, and yeah, Bluesy, you're absolutely right that they do need to get desync under better control. They need to get frame rates up to a higher level. They need to have the game playable, but for who? They need it playable for people like me, because I will hop into Xenothreat. No, it needs to be playable for people like me to hop in and actually play it, because I'm not going to play it with the desyncs, and I'm not going to play it with the FPS issues. There's a lot of people that will play it regardless.
Okay, through the vent.
Yeah,
What's up,
there are.
Shiver?
You are the last person, or the last type of person they should be trying to cater for, because every single time you were saying it, it was, I want to play, I want to play, I want to play. Not, I want to test, find bugs, make reports, which is the stage we're at.
No, but Shiver, that's what I'm saying. They
How
don't
many
need.
bug reports have you made?
I have actually made some, except I just make them to Jake.
Are you sure those bug reports not just, Jake, this fucking sucks? Also, all the ships look like crap.
I mean, it is that also. But what I'm saying is, it's not that no one. Shiver, hang on. It's not that no one will play until they get desync and stuff under better control. It's people like me won't play until they get desync and FPS back. There are still people that are going to play pretty much no matter what the performance is like.
That's
and
Yep.
SC has had that. Star Citizen has had that its entire lifespan, which I think
You
is
remember when-
ridiculous.
Remember when 3.0 was out and you could only survive, or like first came out and you could only survive in the universe for about 4 minutes before the game crashed?
And people did it over and over and
Yeah,
over and over.
all constantly for hours and days. Yeah.
I think for someone like you, where I don't have the time to just sit here and write out this full-on report that's even more in depth than an insurance claim, which is fair. There's nothing wrong with that. That is fair. It needs to be at the stage where it's like crash, log detected, send report by the press of a button.
I need to be able to press a button in game that says because this is what happened. Follow Stan, we need to interrogate Jake to get the whole story. The whole story is Jake was like, "Hey, do you want to check out the?" I don't actually remember which. I think it was the 890 jump actually. Do you want to check out the 890 jump? I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I got into the 890 jump and I went in an elevator and I was on the mid level and I said, "Go up." And the elevator started going up and I fell through down to the bottom and got stuck in the elevator shaft, and there's nowhere in the bottom of that shaft to open the elevator. It can't be done. Now, if I did, and I was like, "Jake, there's a bug." So I submitted a bug directly to CIG. Bug submitted. Look, I'm a tester, okay? But there really should be a way in game to click a button that says, "This is what happened. This is where I am." You know?
I'll wait for you.
This reminds me of the
That's a good
story
idea.
of someone I know who was taking an Uber, and apparently the Uber driver was particularly attractive and started talking to him and asked him, so what do you do for a living? And his reply was, in his mind, because he started as a backer, I'm a games tester. Genius. Absolute genius.
Oh,
I mean, I'm just gonna throw it out there, but the way video games release nowadays, aren't we all video game testers?
yes, we are. Unfortunately, I used to
It's
be.
somewhat of even console. Sorry, Eric, go on.
No, I was just saying. I used to be a big fan of buying games on day one. I almost never do it anymore, ever, because I'm always like, I'll wait for the first 6 patches so that they fix the game and then I'll play. Oh man.
Even consoles now suffer from the same kind of thing now, because I'm not trying to blame the internet, but it's just a side effect that internet access is now so widespread. You can have this day 0 patch.
Yep. Yeah, so you get your
It's
console
real
home and
bad.
there's like a 14 gigabyte download to fix the operating system. Oh yeah, good times.
That's true.
I really
but
like
yeah,
the Terrapin,
yeah.
by the way. I love seeing video of the Terrapin. Gotta love the turtle.
Okay,
But,
so
I mean, we're now at this stage where we have got these massive ships in game
Yep.
in real time, desync aside, doing these massive firefights, which is really cool. Very nice achievement.
Oh, it's so cool.
More.
Honestly, there was definitely a time when cap ship gameplay didn't even seem possible because they couldn't get the ships in the game. But
I mean, I hate to bring this up all the time, but I do bring this up all the time. There was a time back when the Kickstarter first was out that we weren't actually sure if we'd be able to walk around inside ships.
Mhm.
The first hint was that they said the first hint was the Arclight pistol, which was I don't remember at what million, but in the description for the
why would you need a pistol if you couldn't shoot it at people?
It was.
No, I remember that actually. I remember that. I remember going, "Oh, there's a pistol. It must be first person then."
But that was the
I mean, if
first.
you go back far enough to the initial Kickstarter, then it was all just a single-player game, and then it was
Yeah.
Yep.
this many. We're going to look at doing multiplayer. And
Yeah,
now
and then-
we are.
Yeah, but it's insane to look at how far it's come, really.
Yeah, I know, and I mean, even currently, the game is buggy and stuff, and there's incomplete game loops here and there, but it's already a huge technical achievement. It's nowhere near done, but
Look,
the list of
Jake isn't here, so I can say this without getting into a 4-hour argument. I
Quick, someone get ready to clip this.
swear I have a less buggy time in Star Citizen than I did in Cyberpunk when it launched.
yeah, a lot of times.
Those are fighting words.
Cyberpunk, it was very, very user specific. Some people had a lot of problems with Cyberpunk. I didn't have a ton, but I was watching what was it? Who was Gamers Nexus or Linus Tech Tips were? It was Gamers Nexus. They were doing an early video on like performance in Cyberpunk, and then they had like a 5-minute clip at the end that was just all of the bugs they ran into while they were trying to benchmark the game. It was just like, holy crap!
Look,
That was the one where the trees were. That was the one where the trees were melting.
Star Citizen NPCs T-pose on benches. Cyberpunk NPCs T-posed on motorcycles for me. Okay? Let's just right there.
Oh my god, that's funny. Didn't
Anything
your
else?
player character T-pose?
My pair.
Your parent character?
Yes, I had that. I had NPCs T-posing on motorcycles, and also I had when I was driving along in a motorcycle, way off in the distance, just a face would appear and disappear, and then appear and disappear. Just a decapitated head would just appear and disappear, like far in the distance. No, I'm telling you, I had a very, very buggy time in Cyberpunk. Worse than I've had in Star Citizen. So,
Well, now anyway,
yeah.
Star Citizen. I mean, as I was mentioning before, when 3.0 launched, the game wouldn't run for more than a few minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have anything else to say about the dynamic events, Xenothreat?
I just wanted to say that I'm really excited that we're at this point, where they can start, tagging gameplay elements together and creating dynamic events like this. I know we're at the very beginning of that, but we're still doing it, and it's not going to stop. Like they're going to be creating events and adding to this huge library of events that they'll have, and this is going to keep going on for years.
I just want to get the obligatory. Fuck, she's good looking.
Yeah.
She's the Monica Bellucci of games.
Yeah. No, this game is
Stare at that all day.
And the funny thing is, it already looks incredible. It's just getting better all the time in terms of visuals. They are not done. Remember, you saw the Jake pointed out a Spectrum post to us that I somehow either forgot or totally missed from last month, where they were talking about the Gen 12 renderer, and how it's it's the progress is quite far along that now. I'm really looking forward to them being able to unlock a bunch more performance from PCs for this game.
Just look at some of these things. Like, look at the lighting on there. I know RTX, yeah, great, brilliant. Let's devs be lazy, fantastic. But look at that lighting.
I know,
at
it's
those
so beautiful.
textures. It's just so lovely to see. Someone's just sat there and actually thought out this much of. Oh God, no, I'm going to do this fucking lighting thing here, and it looks so good for it.
Mm-hmm. And the clouds too. They add so much character to space. Anyway, now I'm done. I'm finished ranting about how good it looks and how excited I am for the future dynamic events.
All right, I'm going to move us on to logos. If it's going to load, there it is. I always like this. I just like them sort of filling out more more companies in the verse. It's good.
Yes.
Except I really disliked the talk of Eclipse Mutual. Because in the talk of Eclipse Mutual, they mentioned something that apparently I missed.
Oh, here we go.
In that there's cloning, and I think that that's a lazy way out. I don't like clone. I genuinely don't like that there's
I want you
clones
to
of
tell
cloning.
me how you want them to do it. Otherwise,
Cloning sort of seems like you die and it's respawning. It's a in-game way to say, hey, you respawn, and
Yep.
you're gonna respawn X numbers of times.
Mhm.
The way I but the way I had understood it from the first Death of a Spaceman was you would die, and then you'd be essentially brought back to life with some damage to a part of your body, and you'd need to get a cybernetic replacement or something. Like there was
yeah, they're still
supposed
going
to
to
be,
do that. They're
but
still going to do that. They're totally faking the science on it.
but how do they do the two of them? How do they do that and cloning? Because if you get a
Because they're
clone,
going to say that you're whatever. I don't know. I remember it from the video. It's like your DNA takes damage or something.
but that limits the
Um,
number.
Degradation is a thing.
Yeah, but that's
well,
gonna
it is,
limit.
but not.
That's
It's
gonna
like
limit the
not.
number of
It's not like
times.
this. It's not like this limb is missing or something. You know.
No,
That's
true
not-
enough. But
Yeah, I just thought they'd do away with cloning and have it be like you are brought back, but X limbs suffered irreconcilable damage.
one problem with that,
Here's
though,
my question.
you're in an FPS situation. Your head gets blown off Kennedy style. It's not too soon. Fuck you. And they're like, yeah, so we stapled it back together and it's fine. Don't worry about the brain damage.
No,
This-
but the way of the original Death of the Spaceman was you're dead.
That's what headshots were insta kill. You're creating a new character. Boom.
You are creating your child,
Yes.
your progeny, and they are
Don't
taking
think many
over your
people would
stuff.
like that.
So
I mean, you of all people who complains about snipers who shoot you when you don't even get to see them.
No, I am that
Shitty
sniper.
thing.
I am that sniper. Well, but then you've got, I mean, helmets,
That's not
right?
true for Lost Stand.
You can, I mean,
Eris does.
armored. Thanks. Armored helmet makes up. You can make up some of that. Your helmet prevented, permanent brain damage. Or I don't know, something. I don't know. I feel like cloning is a cheap way out. That's all.
here's my question. I have a question for you, David. See, because there was always this problem where, like, okay, how did your body get back? Well, it makes sense if you're like in Stanton, but if you're in an uncharted system, like, what's the story there? What happened?
Okay, I've got a question. One, I've got an answer to that. It's really simple. Two, I've got a question for you, Eric.
What?
You are out in the middle of absolute nowhere, out of network, out of coverage, out of everything, and you die. How does your clone printer know to print a new clone?
Deadman trigger.
But how does the signal get back?
Cool stuff. I've played this one before.
That's actually a legit question. I'm not
And
sure.
keep in
Signal
mind,
will still be transmitted. It just might take longer. I mean, if
Very,
we're going
very
into real
long.
life here for some reason, because apparently we can't gamify this, then you'd still be transmitting a signal. There's no such thing as out of network range. That thing's just going to keep going forever and ever and ever and ever. It's just going to take longer because it's not
Very
necessarily
long
being
time. Yeah.
relayed.
So
but
I
keep
don't
in
know
mind,
the in-game explanation for any of this, but I'm not surprised they decided to go this way because I'm sure the other way kind of gets difficult to explain.
I don't know.
mean-
I think cloning. I find it strange to be like, yeah, we've got relatively perfect cloning. We can clone you a dozen times before there's a problem, but we have no AI. AI doesn't exist.
They have
The thing is,
AI.
yeah, they just banned it.
They
The
banned
thing
it
is, you're both
because
right.
it was dangerous.
You're both right. Yeah, it's a cheap way out, but it's also a game. If you
Mhm.
don't want to go that route, Eris, no one is going to stop you from just keep, the first time you get cloned, just keep killing yourself on purpose until you get your new character. Done.
You can do the Warcraft thing and go stand in the fireplace.
Yeah. The same way, if you don't want sound in space, just turn your speakers off.
To be fair, they're not perfect, but to be fair, Star Citizen already does a pretty good job with muting the sound in space.
Look, if we really want to get into a bigger problem, and they've discussed this before, when you're a criminal and you get
I am
caught by
not.
you get caught by a bounty hunter, and they put you in their bounty hunter thing, and then they have to deliver you to a prison. CIG have already accepted that you're just going to get to respawn in the prison. You're not going to have to sit there and wait for them to deliver you.
No.
You're not going.
You want to come with me?
I don't
Because
know.
it doesn't. That's one thing you have to gamify. Otherwise, it's like the worst possible form of griefing. You are not allowed to play the game anymore until I decide to deliver you.
Right, but then what happens if?
Beer
So I capture you, right? You are in the back of my Avenger, and I'm flying to the prison to deliver you. And you respawn in, let's say, even in the prison, right? And I walk to the back of my ship, and there's Eric standing there, NPC Eric, and I shoot him dead.
Then the NPC's dead.
But
It's a
the
game.
NPC is you.
I'm at the beginning.
I know. It's a game. It won't kill me.
But should it kill one of your clones?
I use what I use
Because I meant to kill you,
You should.
but
send
you,
it- you
I
should send
meant
this
to, I
question
wanted
to-
to kill
should
you.
Send this question to CIG because I would be very curious
That-
about their answer.
I would guess not, because that opens up for griefing,
Yeah.
just in the same way, does it not? If you, especially, I mean, you may have a wanted dead or alive equivalent on you, in which case shooting you in the cryostasis pod is incredibly bad form, but would be acceptable. And maybe then you're like, oh shit, I've lost a life. Or maybe because you've been captured and you get respawned in the prison anyway, it's considered that you have lost a life just for that. And then that way, if bounty hunter Dave just wants to shoot you anyway, it doesn't matter either way.
But what
I
happens?
love all these horrible problems that the game designers are gonna have to deal with.
but,
I
but
just
here's
thought about
another
it too.
genuine
Like,
question.
what if they capture you? What if they capture you? Player
Yeah.
bounty. They capture you, and you just respawn in the prison and try to get out. And their ship blows up on their way to the to deliver you, like without even no malice intended. Somebody attacks them and kills them. Like what is what?
Hey, Griff.
That
This
does
is
bring
it.
up the question of, if you are captured, can you not be rescued then once you're in the back of someone's Avenger?
Do
Based
you-
on what they said, no.
Like,
So
do
that
you
kind
get to
of-
choose when you
That
hop
blocks
over?
off a kind of gameplay, does it not?
Yes, it does.
Well,
But
and,
I
and-
still don't think there's a possible way in which you can make it fair to actually trap the player in the ship until the person decides they want to go and deliver them, because it could be like 6 weeks. You
okay,
know?
here's a question, and this another
Do you see me?
genuine question. So I have Eric. I have captured Eric, right? And you have now spawned back at the prison, but in my ship, the Eric that I've captured, does his name change to Bob? Or is he still Eric? He's still
I'm
Eric.
still Eric.
Okay, So I never make it to the prison. Look, at what point in my travel to the after my capture of you and my travel to the prison is your sentence and your wanted level expunged?
I'm at the beginning.
Because if I don't make it,
I'm at the very
do you know what I'm?
The fuck are you going on about, Schrodinger's lawyer?
I think where he's going is, what if you get out of prison and then go and kill me before I can deliver you back to the prison?
Serious question.
Well, it's the same as if you try and Google, you break the internet.
See, this is what I love. I love that the game designers are because all of the game designers are sitting around the table having this exact conversation. What do we do in this case? What do we do in this case? What do we do in this case? What do we do in this case?
Cloning.
I would just imagine that the simplest and easiest solution, it may not be the one that's going to make everyone happy, is once you're captured, that's it. You are captured. That's done. Doesn't matter what happens to prisoner X when it's in that Avenger. It's done. You've been captured. You might lose a life, or you're going to get your crimes, whatever. Done. Whatever happens to that, it's too late.
But so on capture, your wanted level is nullified.
Maddie, you went over the part.
Otherwise, I've still got a wanted felon in
Go to
the back of my ship, and he's in prison working off his sentence. Let's say
Yep.
you either one, pay down your sentence completely. Is the prisoner in my ship no longer wanted? Or two, let's say you escape without paying down your bounty, and now I have a prisoner in my back that is Eric. Is that Eric now worth more because the real Eric had all of that wanted and now escaped? Well, can I turn in
No,
the fake Eric
that's an easy
for
one.
escaping?
That's an easy one because the point of capture was that reward there. It becomes a new thing for whatever follows on after that.
I think there's so many like Schrodinger's.
Oh, it's so many.
It's
And
What happens-
honestly, the easiest way for them to deal with this is a way that's going to be the most gamey, which is just that after you're captured, but you don't actually end up in the back of the person's ship ever.
What happens if
You know
you
what I mean?
capture a person? They're in your Avenger, you're flying back, but then you get captured and then crushed up and killed. And then what happens to that body and your body? Do you become one ginormous clone when you're transported back? Or
another question. I capture you.
oh fuck.
What happens? No, hang on. What happens to all of your equipment? I'm assuming that when you go to prison, when you either pay your way out or break out, you have a chance to get your stuff back.
Yep.
But at what point does the person in the back lose all their stuff? And if I die, if me and you and the Avenger die, can you get out of prison and then come find your original corpse that died in my Avenger?
And sort of get on.
And get all your stuff
Should
back
we
to life.
should we move on?
Yeah.
All right.
Use your balls, Maddie. The balls
We'll never move on from this topic. It's just going to be the same topic to the end of time.
It took us over 6 months, but we got to something for the year. That's going to be the meme of the year.
I love this question. I'm so happy. I'm gonna bring this back up all the time.
I love these fucking thruster effects. Blew my goddamn mind.
This is why Eris is never going to design a game.
Or maybe this is why I should. Before we started this, I was talking about a game idea that I had. I think it's brilliant. And imagine if I combined this cluster.
What's the game idea? Let's poke holes in your fucking game.
All
shall we?
right, the game idea is you have to go into the Chernobyl exclusion zone to find things of value and bring them back out and sell them.
One problem.
What's that?
The fuck's worth any value in the Chernobyl exclusion zone?
All the gold in the basement of the reactor.
Mementos, things that people left behind.
Uh,
Okay, question. Why is an elephant tusk worth a ton of money?
Well, I mean, isn't there like a demand for that? I mean, yes,
Yes.
it's completely illegal and it's completely immoral, but there's a demand for it. I don't think anyone wants some radioactive crap from the Chernobyl exclusion. Actually, that's not true.
That's not true at all, Shiver, and you know it.
Yeah, but then you're not going to get rich bringing back this glowing yellow bus or something that used to belong to a 10-year-old. No.
It enhances your virility.
Like kaiju bone powder.
Exactly. Now people want it. The game is flawless. These thruster effects are.
What happens if you die in the exclusion zone? Where do you respawn?
You don't. It's your clone.
So, right. Where does your equipment go when you die in the exclusion zone?
Your second clone. So when you die, you are cloned, but another you is
How did my
actually
equipment
cloned
get
as
to
well.
my second clone? Who brought that there? And if
He
it's
tries
been
to
brought
race
to my
you there.
second clone, could I go to where I died and pick up my old equipment and have two of everything?
No, because your other clone is trying to get there first because they cloned you twice, and you know that.
What
he's
happens
been
if I
cloned and he
die?
knows
I
that
get
you're there.
recloned, but someone respawns me in the original thing. Do I get two characters at the same time?
4.
yes.
All right.
Okay.
Thruster effects.
Shiver, focus.
These look
Sorry.
great for a start.
Yep.
They said that this is really early as well. I'm really excited to see this expand. It looks
Yeah. It looks so good.
and this
That's
makes
using
Particle
the,
system in this
particle
game,
system, isn't
man.
now. Will this mean that it like
I was trying to teleport to you.
because they've got like actual wind effects basically, right? Will this mean that like as a ship goes by, my hat will fly off or my scarf will go waving in the wind?
Yeah, I think so.
Because I'm gonna wear a hat
They're
and
working
scarf.
quite. Because I mean,
Potentially.
they're working quite a bit on wind in this game. Like not just thruster effects, but planetary wind too. So, yes, possibly. Also, I love that they talked about how the actual like weather wind, like wind, will interact with these dust effects in the future as well, and also that that they're going to work on making sure that all of the different surfaces are supported. Very cool. Fastcar wants to know why you're wearing a scarf.
Because they look cool. And
Understood.
also because capes, you can't wear capes around engines.
no capes.
More stuff that we love to see. Fire and vector fields.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
just because Star Citizen is nuts.
They are working so hard on this fire stuff. They're gonna burn down my goddamn ship, aren't they?
No, that's going to be
I
Shiver.
mean, it's important. Probably, it's important though, isn't it? Because if you do get a fire on your ship, it has to spread in a way that
Uh-huh.
is expected by the player, so you can combat it as well as obviously with various wind effects on a planet. Same applies. You know,
Well, and it's really
firefighting
interesting.
is going to be an actual game.
It's
I
really
want to see if they do
interesting, too.
extend
Sorry.
this to. Go ahead, David. No, go ahead.
After you.
I was gonna say I'm very curious to see if they. I mean, I'm assuming they're going to, but I'm very curious to see if they extend this effect to planetary surfaces and do the Breath of the Wild thing where you can have giant grass fires.
I really hope they do. I think this is really interesting though because the smoke is going to have a volume, and one of the things about fire in a small area is the fire can even be relatively small, but the smoke will fill up your ship really, really quickly. So they need one, that full propagation of the smoke throughout your ship, and two, they need to be able to properly react when you put on a helmet and open the airlock.
Not
Yeah.
only that, but don't forget on a ship oxygen supply as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
But it's stuff like this
that'd be
that
unfortunate.
hasn't. It's stuff like this that hasn't existed in any other game.
She goes
Yep.
to get
Period.
stuff herself.
Not on this sort of scale and aimed for
Um,
realism.
I think what it's the systematic approach, right? And it's the honestly it's the approach that we always love in video games, where it's the thing that people loved about the grass fires in Breath of the Wild. The systematic things that just work because that's how they made the game world work.
It's funny actually because
Oh.
it's something that Jake brings up every time we talk about Breath of the Wild. In that, you know what, Breath of the Wild is not the greatest game because it's got a good story or anything. It's one of the best games ever made because of its systems and because all the systems just work together. It's such a phenomenally designed game for that reason. And I mean, lots of what CIG are doing is that, but at a whole other level.
Fire today on an airplane is one of the worst things that could ever fucking happen.
Yep.
Fire on the International Space Station is the pretty much worst case scenario kind of thing. And if you have
Except
a fire
for
on
when
your
they light
spaceship,
fires
It just teleported.
in very controlled experiments. But yes,
It took them 20 years to even try it. Sorry.
they want fire on your spaceship to be this
Yeah.
crap situation. This needs to be dealt with now, rather than just even FTL. If you get there quick enough and manage it, you can just expose your spaceship to the vacuum. Expose your spaceship to the vacuum of space. Fine, but CIG want this to be okay. You've got a fire. This needs to be dealt with now, as well as that you're under attack, as well as that you're being boarded. It's all sorts of things, and like you say, because the way that the system is being made, so it systematically just happens.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be extremely dangerous and hazardous, which
Something
is how
else-
it should be.
something else I just thought about, which is going to be really interesting because of the way they're developing the smoke propagation, is that, I mean, on something like a freelancer or a small ship, you're not going to have a problem. But on some of the larger ships, where's the fire?
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And they just showed in some of the clips in this larger clip right here, the smoke flowing through. Like, you might have to follow the smoke to find the fire. And that is that's interesting. That's I love it.
Especially if your ship is disabled. Like, there are probably going to be warning systems and stuff in your ship to tell you what's going on. But I mean, if there is a fire because you're under attack, your ship might not be working anymore. So, but I really do love I wanted to mention, I really love that the sign distance field work that they're doing with the smoke in the hallways to make it follow and propagate correctly. Yes, thumbs up.
Hey,
This
look,
is going to be
they're-
absolutely insane to watch an 890 jump burn down for the first time.
Would that be a disco inferno?
Yes.
Hey, look, they're updating some of the old ships.
Retaliator.
And Redeemer.
Well, the Redeemer's not old. Well, sort of, it's old.
It's pretty old. It just also never happened.
Hasn't been in the game. I like that they have like ovens for or oven-looking things for beds. Like, you open this thing on the side, it's your bed.
Are they still going to be escape pods as well?
Griffin, I am going to set fire to every single 890 I ever see. It's going to be my one mission in life. Burn them all.
Hey, Griffin.
Yeah. Oh wait, you're here.
Yeah, escape pods are supposed to be a thing in the game. I'm really curious to see what that gameplay is like.
Yeah. So if we escape in the escape pod, do we lose a clone? What about the gameplay? Are we just going to be stranded there on our own for a bit? And if so, if I respawn, can I go and rescue myself?
Well, I mean, it's a good question. If your escape
It's not a
pod,
fucking good question, Eris.
sure
It's
it
not.
is. No, but so they've actually they've set this up, right? Some ships like the Vanguard has an escape pod that has limited thruster power, I believe. Some models of
Yep.
the Vanguard. But what if your ship doesn't? What if your ship's escape pod is basically just a pod that escapes? Are they going to make you sit there like they would?
Yes.
Why? They don't make you sit there if you get caught as a prisoner.
Because you're
Imagine you
making
do
you're making this choice to try and save one of your clones and get rescued instead of just like getting captured. Isn't it? Like, you don't have a choice there.
You had a choice. You could have never gone criminal in the first place.
Oh God.
I
It's
had
going
to
back to
steal
the
a loaf of
origins
bread to
of the
feed my
human.
starving family.
Amazing.
I would imagine it's going to be a Fate to Black thing, and it would depend on where you are. If you're in the deep recesses of space, maybe you lose a clone because you would no one comes around, and no one could come around to rescue you in time, so you would just
only have-
die eventually.
You'd only have so much oxygen, so yeah, you'd probably have
Yeah.
like you'd probably have like a timer, and if someone didn't rescue you by X time, then you would respawn.
I
They
I
could use
hope that
Quanta.
I feel like if they do some of the things that way and do it too quickly, you're losing out on. Like, if I'm captured by someone, I honestly think that it should be a choice. If I know that I've got someone in the vicinity that's going to come and try and rescue me, maybe I don't want to respawn yet. Maybe I don't want to go to prison,
Maybe.
right?
Maybe it will
they
be.
can do that with Quanta, because Quanta is going to be tracking NPCs and be aware that, NPC hit over here, you've got a good reputation with his faction or his mum or something, so he might come and rescue you. So
But or even
you won't
other
fade black
players.
straight away. Maybe it'll do that. What
Right,
if you?
like-
I mean-
how are the players going to be aware of it though, unless you've had enough time to send out this quick message saying, "Help! Been captured."
I mean,
10 days.
they'll be aware of it because I tell someone in Discord, "Hey, I've been captured here. Come rescue me."
Oh, metagaming. But that's still easily avoided though, because if the system isn't aware of it, then like your nearest court mate is, in theory, out of range to be able to get to rescue you in time. Fade to black. In theory, court mate is within range, and you won't fade to black because maybe they'll
Yep.
let you metagame like that, like complete save scum.
Once again, back to the game designers table at CIG somewhere.
Yeah.
I just think there's a lot of really, really interesting questions there is all. I can't wait to see what they decide on a lot of these.
And somebody's going to be pissed off regardless of what decision they make.
Look at this ship. Look at this ship. I want it so badly.
Yeah, I know which one you're
Is-
talking about.
One of the prettiest ships in the game. You know why?
Yep.
I think it has just that little tiny bit of that one thing that we've all been asking for years, and they've only given us in the Caterpillar and the Herald, and finally the Star Runner. We all asked for years for a
Asymmetric.
little bit of asymmetry. Not a ton. The Caterpillar, honestly, I think has too much. The Mercury Star Runner, much better. This, perfect.
The Ares Starfighter. The Ares Starfighter is one of my favorite ships in the game.
Yeah.
In terms of vision, in terms of look, and also its role. I love that we have a sniper ship. It's awesome. Somebody built a ship around a gigantic gun.
I want it, and I will melt something to get it. If I had an 890 jump, it'd be gone.
Claimer.
I'm not gonna melt the reclaimer,
No.
but it's tempting.
Is it genuinely? Is it that close to? Not that
I feel like
expect
the
this ship to cost anywhere near as much, but
I feel like the reclaimer is too big for me to operate. I love it. I think it's one of the most stunning ship designs in science fiction ever.
Yep.
But I don't think I'll be able to run it.
I would hold on to it in case.
Yeah, I'm going to, but I'm gonna find some way to get myself
Yeah.
an Ares. Cause
Shiver. What are your thoughts on the Starfighter?
it's all right. It's a giant Wen with
Roger.
a gun.
Yep, sure is.
That's it. That's all I got. Like you said, I like the role.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it.
What do? I fly a gun.
Not
I
retribution? No, it's an Ares.
Yep.
I also like the updated HUDs.
Yeah, they look really nice. They're getting there. They're getting close to what can be a final game HUD in a lot of these ships.
I'm excited to see this sort of detail propagate across all ship HUDs. But
What I'm
yeah,
what I'm really hoping, and you've talked about this before, is that they actually maintain the color choice as a thing that the players can do later. Doesn't necessarily need to be an immediately, but it needs to be. I think I really, really, really hope that people will be able to change their HUD color.
I'm not actually going to say that I hope that they can. I'm going to say that it is absolutely 100% essential from an accessibility standpoint. People have to be able to change
Yes.
their HUDs, period. It is not negotiable. It's not optional.
I agree with that, but if you're going to do it anyway for accessibility reasons, I would love to see it expanded out even further to be like, people can just choose to make their HUD whatever color, you know?
Oh yeah, I agree. Like I'd like us to be able to choose it ourselves, but regardless, it has to be possible. Because what if you're, you know what if you're red-green colorblind? How
Exactly.
good is that HUD for you?
Yeah. Yep.
Accessibility is hugely important in video games and in all things, and I
Especially for a
have
heads-up display. It's supposed to give you information. Sorry, I interrupted you there.
no, it's all good. I have faith that CIG will do it. I just
Mhm.
they better do it.
In terms of the actual design, you happy with this? Think it needs more tweaking? Anything it's missing?
All I can
It's not too cluttered, which is always a good thing. On the accessibility thing, I don't know if this counts as accessibility thing or just cool features that Shiver wants. I would like to be able to take elements of the HUD and literally just, cut it out of there. I want that on this monitor. I want that bit on that monitor. Something like
Mhm.
that.
That would be really cool if it was just totally modular and you can move bits around to for your preference. Yeah.
I would really like. My only problem with the HUD is the same problem I have right now. It's I don't know what everything on it means. I just want a tutorial in game that explains all of the different systems to me.
Yep, I understand that.
I mean,
Um,
yeah, that's fair. But if it's also entirely modular as well, you will know what your plate. Hopefully, you should do. You should know what you're placing where and when.
Well, it's just because I don't know what all of the things mean, I don't know what needs to be where on the screen. Like, I can't evaluate if the
So
thick
what do
on
you-
the
I'm
left
actually
is
curious.
good.
What aspect of this do you not know?
THC, HYD, QUA, everything on the bottom left, everything on the bottom right.
So on the HYD is hydrogen fuel, QUA is quantum fuel, THC, I'm not actually sure, except the obvious. But
How cool you are. What were the other bits that you said you didn't know?
Everything on the bottom left, CPLD. I mean, I know
Coupled, decoupled mode, ESP mode, landing gear.
the bottom right are your decoys.
What's a decoy?
Stealth? What, like chaff and flare? The missile
Yeah.
decoys? No idea.
Yeah.
But what? No,
exactly.
because it says decoy 100 and noise 100 and auto off. Like, what are those? What are those? Yeah, there's just stuff that I don't know about.
I think everything in the bottom right are countermeasures, and auto is if it fires automatically. That's my guess, anyway.
And this is why Eris can't be a pilot in real life. Gear? What's that?
What is
Do I
gear
need that for landing?
I did not ask what
Fuck
gear
it.
was.
You said everything on the bottom left.
I
man.
said it when I actually couldn't read what gear was because of the color of it on the
That's fair.
background.
Shiver.
I do
clear.
like the thought that you didn't know what gear was, though.
Is THC actually the heat output?
I'm almost at the top of Mako Island.
Why would it be up there, though? That's
Yeah, I'm not sure what that
fairly
is. I mean,
relevant.
it's right beside the thruster. Anyone else know what THC is supposed to be on the left-hand side in this HUD? I know all the other ones.
Almost there, though.
I'm curious if the altimeter is always there. Currently, it's not always there in the game because altimeter doesn't really mean anything once you're, in the interplanetary space.
It's more up. So now
It's a lot better than what we've had before. They managed to fit a lot of information in without making it cluttered. I really like it. I can't wait for them to get to a good spot with all the ships. Because currently it's a total mixed bag.
I thought we'd seen this one already, but
So when I'm
loot.
hiding,
Loot. I'm glad the game's getting loot. Interesting little tidbit, David, because I know you're always interested in how many items they have. They mentioned in Star Citizen Live there are currently 2,600 items that could be looted.
necessarily.
yeah, but how many of them do I care about looting?
Oh, 8.
12.
Yeah, it's
If we're
the.
getting...
Go ahead, sure.
No, you go.
I genuinely worry about loot in Star Citizen because one of the things that most games do when it comes to loot is levels and rarity, and you've got purple stuff and green stuff and blue stuff, and you get better stuff. But if in Star Citizen your arc-light pistol is your arc-light pistol and is all arc-light pistols, and the
Except we've
only
already addressed this. Not all arc-light pistols are the same.
but they're mostly the same.
Yeah, mostly, but not all.
Yeah, there'd be a base model. Well, I mean, this is not the same in real life. How many mugs do you have? One?
No, but how do you know? Like, is there a way to see? Oh, this
Well, you
arc-light
just
pistol is better than mine.
You go to inspect, and you inspect it.
You know where you spawn?
I don't
Well,
know.
I mean, there's reasons to have multiples of the same item because, apart from the obvious fact of just sell the crap, you can also use it to experiment and modify and say, well, I'm going to try and fiddle around with this. And you've got, if you can break it, I don't know because they haven't said anything about how the modification system works. There might be a chance that you could completely destroy
I would
the device
imagine.
by modding it and then
I
find
would
where
imagine,
it is.
yeah, for sure.
All
Yeah.
I know is, regardless of what they choose to do, not having item level and item rarity does limit their ability to make the. It limits their ability to make the loot valuable every time. Like, and I'm genuinely worried about going to a loot box after loot box after loot box and saying, well, there's nothing in here that matters.
110% disagree. One word for you: economy. sure, these self-sealing stem bolts might not be worth much in Stanton, but they could be in demand over on some other star system. So if you want to, you could take the Trader Life for you, stick it in your boot, go off, sell them there for profit. I mean, at the end of the day, anyway, if you found it, it's 100% profit no matter what.
But
Now,
is
Shiver,
it,
are you talking about the Great Material Continuum?
I love you and I want your babies.
I knew I'd get him with it.
and yeah, an overclocked item
I-
will be different from stock, and I think there's the big possibility of them doing like almost overclock brands.
Yeah.
Like they talked about the Counting Cuckoos or the Crows brand that did
Yep.
the Kraken modifications as a brand in Verse that would do other ship modifications, and they can have that
Yep.
for weapons as well. So it's not just an arc-light pistol; it's a true form arc-light pistol or something. Like there is that they can do. It's just that's what's going to make things more interesting, and that's what like we need. Basically, what I'm saying is I want to know more about modifications in the game.
Honestly,
because
at this
a lot
point,
of lot of the value of loot is going to be based on that modification ability.
oh, absolutely. What I would say is at this point we are well and truly in the infancy of this. Like, it's well, as you can see, they're just starting to work on loot now. Like they're getting into it. I don't think we actually have a good conception right now of what the final system is going to look like. But given the rest of their attention to gameplay systems, I don't think it's going to be like
Yeah,
ignored or
I
thrown,
would
or
be I would be really disappointed if it really did come down to Arclight pistol blue, Arclight pistol gold, Arclight pistol purple. That would be
Yeah.
a bit. Well, that's a bit lame.
Yeah.
The other thing they will be able to do, which will be nice, is the ability to loot ship parts as well.
Yeah.
But
Oh man.
again, it's the thing that
Oh,
I want to
can't wait.
stress is that yes, they may have 2,600 lootable items in the verse,
Mhm.
but how many empty beer mugs do I want to loot? 0. Like it
I mean,
has,
depends on what they're worth.
but even if they're worth, it still has to be. You have to be excited to find something in the loot box, right?
Yeah, okay,
Which
I'm
mean-
actually going to push back on that a little bit.
Right,
Every
EA.
RPG in the world has 99% of the loot you just pick up because it's worth something. You're not actually excited to get it. Like I pick
You not
up,
heard of junk items?
yeah,
They're
for value.
Eric, I know you love Diablo 2.
Yes, I do.
And one of the things about Diablo 2 was, yes, there was a portion of the gameplay where yes, you pick up everything because it has value and you have to sell it because you have to repair your ship.
Like every RPG is like
Yeah.
that, yeah.
And then you hit the point where money is of absolutely no object and you really are picking things up just because they are good. Right?
Yep.
There's that point in every RPG where money no longer matters.
Mm-hmm.
The loot still has to be fun then.
I counter
think-
that argument, sir, with perhaps money no longer matters, but you're still not going to spend it frivolously on mats. So you're picking up crappy objects to break down for mats, so you can
Oh, I
craft
can
your
see
own
that.
object.
But
I can see that.
but we don't even know about breaking stuff down yet. Like I want to know more about the modification system because how
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just trying to say that it's not so two-dimensional. Of I've got an empty beer bottle.
No, I'm not even I'm
What are
all
you
I'm
for?
saying is however they do it, there has to be value in some of the things that you find. Whether it's because you find a nice weapon and even if you're not going to use it, you can break it down for materials, that's fine. But there has to be that excitement, right? It's not there's 2,600 items of loot I only care about 10 of them because 2,600 of them are empty beer bottles. Like they have to have that
Yeah.
stuff that brings.
I wasn't saying that
excitement.
to try and convince you that they should stop developing the game. I was saying it to say that there aren't 18 items or 27 items or 48 items. There's 2,600. You know, so they're making progress on creating a giant loot table.
They are, but there's only like 4 pistols and 0 crossbows.
There's 1 crossbow in development.
0 crossbows in game.
So, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I do think that I can, unless they screw it up. I think that disabling a ship and then boarding it and trying to remove the components from it in order to salvage them and sell them is going to be a pretty awesome gameplay experience.
100%, I agree with that.
And I also think that there's going to be a serious tension there where you're like, do I have enough time to board this ship and get the stuff off of it before the cavalry arrives? You know?
I'd like to know, if they're adding loot to the game, will they be adding ukuleles?
I
Only
hope
after
so.
they add the cellos. They have to add cellos.
What
first.
about mandolins?
Yes.
Isn't there a piano in one of the ships? Probably the 890. That thing's ugly
Yes,
enough.
there is. Yeah.
The Phoenix, Constellation Phoenix.
Oh yeah, that's also ugly enough.
Oh, I love that ship. I have one.
Look, okay, you know what happened today? We saw a ship that I think is gorgeous and practically perfect in every way. So it does happen. There are ships that I like.
The Starfighter's an amazing ship, so I'm with you on that one.
I just hate the Connie and the
No, no.
890.
Actually, have
and
you seen the
every other-
Lightning?
Ooh, yeah, it's a nice
Because
one.
if
as
memory
well.
serves, the Lightning's fairly similar to the Ares, and I quite like the
I'm
Lightning.
sure
I like-
David's seen the FA
I
Lightning.
did like the Lightning. The only problem with the Lightning was we can't buy it.
And also,
True.
you don't want us to be able to buy it.
Oh, definitely not.
Very, very frightening.
I'm very okay that we can't buy it, but
For anyone who wants to see the FA Lightning again, because it's just pretty, there you go.
its only problem is one, as with so many Star Citizen ships, there are too many wing things. There's just too many wing things, okay?
Things. I
We
like
need
the idea.
wings as backup wings in case the other wings die.
But this one even looks like it's got like 4 wings under each wing, ready to
In
fold out.
fairness, though, this one is a heavy fighter, and it is going to be able to go into atmosphere. And
Mhm.
the last thing
Yeah.
you want to do is think, "Oh shit, I haven't got any fucking wings."
Yeah, but I don't. I think the problem is less that it's got multiple wings, and more that most of those wings are superfluous wings.
You don't know that they're
David and
superfluous.
Shiver, I need to talk to you about something because it just popped in my head. Is something they talked about on Star Citizen Live this week,
Go ahead.
Is it wing related?
and I absolutely, absolutely love this detail. They had the problem of Crusader in that it is a gas giant, and they didn't want you to be able to fly to the core of the gas giant, right? So their solution to this, again, systemic gameplay, right? So they're like, hey, we're going to come up with a pressure damage system where each ship will have a certain ability to withstand exterior pressure on its hull. So they've basically created this whole new realm of gameplay where you can dogfight with people in atmospheres of gas giants and stuff, and if your ship is better at resisting the pressure of the gas giant, you can win the fight that way.
So basically, what you're saying is, if
also-
I'm in a terrapin, I just dive, and everything else dies trying to.
If they
To
try and
chase me.
chase you, yeah, for sure.
Nebulas
But they also
have
what
varying pressure.
was that?
The nebulas have varying pressure.
No, they wouldn't. No, I do have some, but not much. Not enough
Sure, my-
for that to be a problem.
Because I saw this documentary once about this rather elegant-looking spaceship that was trying to outrun this huge 6 kilometer by 6 kilometer ship, and they hid inside a nebula for a few days while they did repairs. And this 6 kilometer by 6 kilometers, let's call it a cube, just hung around on the outside because they couldn't detect it on the inside. And I'm wondering whether or not we'll be able to do something similar in Star Citizen of just hide in a nebula and use my trousers as a temporary latrine.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what they were talking about. Is like they were referring to it as the Hunt for Red October gameplay, where you're basically playing hide and seek in the atmosphere of a gas giant. Also, they did mention that this is it's a systemic thing. It's ability to withstand pressure. So it apparently will also potentially cross over into underwater. But they did point out that currently none of the ships have engines that work underwater, so no underwater spaceships yet, folks.
I saw this other documentary. It was really
Look,
bad.
I just
And there
have
was
to
this
say,
starship that decided to hide under the water, and I was like, that's not possible. It's not built to withstand any pressure, yet it's just going to come out of the water like that. And I was like, I'm so done with this series. I want my original back.
I'm just gonna say that of all the ships in Star Citizen, the Terrapin should go underwater because it's a Terrapin.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Done.
And plus, it's like basically a bomb shelter made into a ship.
Funnily enough, and the Endeavor's front section, which is supposed to be similar in performance, exploratory performance,
Interesting.
to the Terrapin.
I'm very curious to see. I think the Endeavor is going to be a fascinating one to watch them build because it's just such a huge project. That was going to take like a year to make.
I cannot wait. We had one last clip.
Perfect,
Where you can run.
because we're getting there in terms of time. What's our last clip, David?
Oh, sorry, it's playing. It's the like interior stuff, updating or work on interiors and like locations. The Getwell Hospital.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh man, this stuff looks so good.
Because I'm
Yeah.
pressing shift.
I love that whale. I love that whale so much.
Ah yes. Ah yes, the space whale. Man, it's come a long way, hey, since Greybox. Looks really good.
I'm excited to see how large and how sort of fleshed out Cloud City really is.
I'm hearing rumors it's not small.
I don't think you are fast, Cat. I was thinking about quoting Moby Dick when he said he loves the whale.
I love how much detail there. I mean, we're kind of used to this in most games, but the attention to detail is still amazing.
I've got a really stupid question, which I'm gonna dread asking because Eris is here, but I'm gonna ask it anyway.
Okay.
Now, we saw the stone walls there, partially decayed.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. I'm dreading this. How, if at all, destructible do you think the scenery will be?
0.
Really hard to do in an MMO. But
It's really hard to do in a single player.
yeah, I know.
Terrain will be.
Pretend that you're a human, but you're romantic.
We
I'm gonna say I don't know because it's CIG. I don't know what they're gonna try.
I mean, they were doing that really funky stuff, which I think is similar, if not exactly the same, as Minecraft in space. What was it called? Space Engineers. With the ship destructing doodad thing that's got a really technical name. when the ship is damaged, it will crumple in the right areas on the fly and all that sort of thing.
Oh yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
wondering whether or not they could apply a very similar, if not the same sort of tech
We saw
to
that
the
a
walls,
couple.
or whether or not that would just be no. Mostly
Maybe.
because it's a me thing. I see a wall, it's partially eroded, and I'm like, that's a nice touch. Can I blow it up?
They
Mhm.
could do the same thing to the walls as they've done to the exteriors of ships, possibly, but that would probably be extremely resource intensive because they'd have to have the multiple layers, right? And they'd have to have it throughout all environments rather than just on ships. So I don't imagine they'll go that way. The most I can see us getting is terrain deformation.
Yes, which they've already shown. So,
Yeah.
or they've shown that they're experimenting with, and it seems to work.
So do you really think that you're going to have this ginormous railgun on your shoulder that just blows a hole in the side of a ship, and then you fire it at a wall, and you're like, oh, my wall's bulletproof?
I mean, buildings will have to be able to be destroyed, but I don't know what they're thinking about in terms of deformation and damage in in the middle phases between like intact and destroyed.
Hmm.
But
'Cause, I mean,
I'm
they've
not
given
really
us
sure.
these expectations.
Okay, you know what? Here, I'm saying it right now because this is CIG. You know how the Battlefield games, you're able to like shoot a wall and you blow a hole in the wall and you can just take down
Some of them,
basically
yeah.
the entire buildings. That they're going to do that. And after destroying the entire building, you're actually going to be able to go through and pick up each individual piece of the building and put it back together piece by piece because every single piece of the building will remain intact and present somewhere. And if you walk through the rubble's going to like fall around you because it's all going to be physicalized at all times. Because quite frankly, that has more impact on gameplay than food that slowly disappears as you eat it.
And this is why Chris Roberts wants to hire Eris, but everyone at CIG is like, if you fucking do it, I'm walking. So there's a chance for you, Fast Cat, if you want to walk.
So I mean, we have ships that break and can be repaired. I don't think it's a ridiculous stretch to think that, especially, I just don't know what they're gonna do with like the NPC owned buildings, but I think certainly player buildings will be probably damageable and destructible and stuff.
They have
I
said
could at least forgive if they say, all right, look, let's not bother with the walls, like these half-assed walls, as in half-assed as in height, walls, and just say the buildings can flop down. Because, I mean, even MechWarrior 5 has got that in it to a degree. Battlefield 4, I think, had that one. Or was it 5? One of them, if not more of them.
most of them.
Yeah, and now CIG's got to keep up with the new Battlefield game that has tornadoes. Like, damn it!
Well, we already know that CIG have to do that. There's a planet that has, 100-foot high tsunamis at all times.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait. I I love that they did that. So like, they basically put a huge challenge for themselves in the game. Oh, we have to do that.
Well, I think
So,
the
this
problem is
producer just hands the next project along to the developer, and developer's like,
remember though that they designed that planet back before we had full planets and we were supposed to have
Yep.
like 1 or 2 landing zones per planet.
Yep.
That would have been easy to do on a landing zone.
Yep.
How do you do that on
know.
a full planet?
they really gave themselves a problem.
Really, their problem is designing all of the planets before they had the engine done.
Yeah.
there's a cheap way out of it. Don't let you land on the planet and just have these great big swirling clouds across the whole thing and be like,
Nope. Because in lore, the planet is one of the most popular vacation spots because people come down, plop in lore, people plop down a villa, live on it for a couple of weeks until the next wave comes, and then they leave. The villa is destroyed, and they plop down a new villa to live on.
I love it.
Why
If-
is that?
if I remember my
beyond
lore correctly,
reasonable
it's been
to think
years.
that is exactly what people would do.
Oh,
It
100%.
totally is. Totally is what people would do. Yeah. Oh my, love it.
It's perfect.
Do we have any questions?
None. We have no
No.
questions. We also haven't
All
done
right.
the but if
I
anyone
have.
has any questions, oh, you have? I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Anyway, if anyone has any questions, ask us some questions because we're like a couple of minutes from done.
5 minutes from the end of the show.
I have a question.
Good.
Ask away.
So, what if you've been captured by a bounty hunter, right? And you go. What if you've been captured by a bounty hunter and you go back and find yourself? Could you give yourself oral sex?
Yes.
Hang on. I've got another genuine question based on all of this, and I'm being serious.
Oh, shit.
We all know that Star Trek, you're basically being cloned when you get teleported.
No.
Yep.
My big
Nope.
secret.
You are
Okay,
getting
then how does it work?
destroyed and remade at a different person. It is a different you.
Nope. Nope. That was the matter transporters, and that was only in the early days.
Okay. How does
They've
it
got
work in
this thing
the?
called a data buffer, and your physical, and this is science fantasy. Your matter is changed into energy and stored in the data buffer, and then reconstituted down on the planet. It's the same technology as the replicators.
My
not
question
cloned or
is,
anything.
if we have cloning, can we basically use cloning as teleportation? So, you know what? I want to play with Eric, and Eric is 14 systems away because he can be 14 systems away.
Yep.
Can
Not
I
anytime soon, but yes.
can I just be like, you know what? No, I'm killing myself, and my clone is going to spawn
Respawn over there.
over there. And can I use that to fast travel around the verse?
You should put in a concierge ticket with that idea.
Eve has got that exact system in it for jump clones.
Which doesn't surprise me at all because they have something like 9,000 systems or something.
Yeah, and it would take, I think someone calculated that, and this was years ago, I don't know if they've expanded it, but it would take you 26 years to visit every single system.
Wow.
Why?
Better get on it.
Griffin asked a question. What part of yesterday's SCL EUPU team did you like the most? Farming, fueling, etc.
Ooh, probably. I think I'm the only one who ever watched it. I'm gonna say my favorite part was ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. No, Deep Space Probes. It definitely is because that's so entwined with my exploration gameplay. It's really cool because I can send out these probes. They have a travel time, so I can send them out and then continue what I'm doing on my ship, and then later on I can check and see their progress and what they've found. And it's a really cool way of exploring a star system. I really like the idea, and I am glad they're working on it.
I'm excited to hear more about exploration because, I mean, for many, many people, exploration is one of the things that has to be most interesting about Star Citizen. I mean, the Carrack is one of the most beloved ships for a reason. The Endeavour is the best ship for a reason. But it's how does all of this exploration actually work? How do you find new things? Are there new things to find? What are we scanning? What are we doing? How does any of that work? And how does any of that work in an MMO? And we were just talking about Eve that has 9,000 systems. That's massive. That would take years. We've got 100 systems, but it's going to be very possible to visit every single one. So how do they keep adding things for
Yep.
How do they make sure that exploration gameplay isn't done, the first month after a patch and everything has been
Yep.
explored? So much.
This is why it's so important to have the universe simulation and universe simulation, a dynamic universe, and also completely uncharted areas. But also the procedural planets kind of make it. There's so much to discover on the surface of planets that it's it's a lot.
Shiver, you
It would
were
take
you
a
were
long
going to
time.
say something?
I mean, there are basically, yes, you're right. How do they make this constantly thing? Because the majority of people who are going to play Star Citizen, I'm as bad as Chris Roberts with my hands, do want exploration as a thing. And so, how do you keep it so everyone can do exploration? Because also, we've all got different ideas of what exploration is going to involve as well. Eve's exploration, because Eva has exploration,
Mm-hmm.
and it's chuck out probes, find signals, go to the signal eventually after you hammer it down, and then you go and have some sort of usually a combat-based encounter. And that's all done relatively procedurally, and there's X many sites that you can locate, and then after a while you've seen them all and they repeat. That's obviously not going to fly in Star Citizen, but something like that is the only thing they can do that's going to keep people constantly probing an area, is if there is something that is there to be discovered, that like this site that you can go back to, or this site that despawns after X amount of time and then there's a new one found in a different part. But then that's also not going to be what most people want from exploration. They want to be able to find a secret. They want to be able to find something that's interesting, have an encounter, make a story
Get
from
loot.
this encounter, get loot. There's all sorts of things. So that's going to
where
be particularly difficult.
That's where the surface of planets and moons comes into play, because it's
True.
such a ridiculously gigantic play space. It gives CIG an enormous amount of area to put things like that in there.
To put that in perspective, I actually wanted to mention that because we're getting Crusader soon.
Oh yeah, true. Parker,
And
can't forget jump points aren't always stable.
yeah,
True.
yeah, but Crusader is, I mean, I know Crusader's a gas giant, but Crusader's the size of Earth, more or less. So if you want to know how big Earth is, fly around Crusader when it shows up. And they've got, and again, not on Crusader, but on other planets, they're going to have a planet's worth of things to fit. It's why I think it's No Man's Sky did everything procedurally.
Mhm.
And it worked in some ways and was horrible in others. But CIG are already starting to adopt a lot of those procedural things. We can see it in their caves and in how they're building space stations and such. Like, they're procedurally generating layouts, and then they're, double checking them with humans and filling them with humans. But I think we're going to have to see some of that procedurally generation for game.
They need to take it one step further than No Man's Sky, because it was a novelty feature that, I found this cave randomly. A couple of plants in there, whatever. I don't need the resources. Come out. They need something that's going to keep you as a player interested and to make you want to keep going and find the end of this cave, rather than just there might be something good at this cave. They need a breadcrumb trail.
And I think they'll be able to do that better because they are doing both procedural and handcrafted stuff. So they'll be able to handcraft a bunch of different endings to each cave, and then mix the different caves with the different endings so that you have varied things, and eventually you will start recycling and rehashing, but it's going to take a longer period of time, and you won't have T-Rexes with butterfly wings flying all over the place.
Yes. I did want to mention something else, because I haven't talked about this yet. You guys just reminded me. They're also talking about one of the other things that the gameplay team from Europe is doing is making traps. So and also making them be procedural and systemic. So things to make traversal less boring. Like you go into a cave and either it's trapped. So those are like actual character created obstacles, but they're also talking about like rock falls and things like that. Um, and just to make sure you like to keep you engaged in your exploration, right? And
And I
then they
think
also
we're
went on
also
to
going to get
discuss.
some of that once we get fauna as well.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. They can make use of the creatures for sure. So the other thing was that they were talking about how, even in space, like, you might go and say you're, and go back to probing again because apparently I like probing. Come on, Shiver. Come on. Where's the?
We all like a good probing.
There we go. Okay, thanks.
You're pushing that a bit hard.
So he, they were talking about how you might send your probes out across the system. They find what looks to you to be a like rich asteroid field, but you never actually go look at it. You just take the probes data that you gathered and you package it up into a data product. You go and sell it to somebody. Go, hey, here's a rich asteroid field, but you never actually went and looked at it. And if your data isn't of high enough quality, you might sell it to somebody. They might go there, and it might just be a giant booby-trapped mess of turrets and defensive things that were basically set up to entrap miners.
I was going to say, years ago we got that really cool gameplay portion at CitizenCon where there was like the giant wreck on a sand planet and like stabbing people from behind and sandworms. But that seriously is all the sort of stuff that we would want to see in exploration. Like, oh, there's this giant downed ship here. Let's go check it out. Oh, it's inhabited by people. Oh, they've trapped stuff. Oh, they've got this. Oh, at the end of it, they've got a data pad that has information about how this ship went down. Oh, this ship went down because it was hit by pirates after it found a huge mineral resource. Like,
yeah,
What I
exactly.
really like is exploration chains that don't end in combat.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, and they're doing that they specifically are doing that because they're having one whole branch of exploration that is they've kind of cut it off from exploration a little bit in that they have a whole branch that is also science, right? They're doing a whole research branch, which is going to be, things like studying comets and I don't know what else, but specifically that was one thing that was mentioned by Tony Durbeck.
They did say a long time ago that part of science would be like capturing animals, collecting certain plants that are needed, right? I can't wait to be tasked to go down to the surface of a planet and tranquilize some animal and cart it onto my ship and then take it to a research facility. But that's
What if the
That's
animal
cool.
respawns, right? Can the animal respawn and free itself?
It is now 10 minutes past our normal time. Thank you all so much for coming and listening to us ramble for some reason. I hope none of you are clones, and if you are, then go back and find your original bodies and loot them. And maybe probe them. Shiver, where can you be found?
Over on twitch.tv/Table of Horrors. This week we've got Vampire the Masquerade London by Gaslight continuing on Wednesday 22:30 UTC. We're starting a new game. It's killing me. You're killing me. Friday night at some point that I can't remember in UTC, but it's like 9 a.m. JST. So work that out. I think that's midnight UTC or midnight BST.
In one of the
Fun,
T's, it's
completely
midnight.
new troop as well.
Nice. And other than that, you can find us here next week at the same time, or Tuesday at the same time, where we talk about video games that aren't Star Citizen.
So Tuesday this week, we're all kind of diving into the Steam Next Fest that's currently happening. Also, Steam Next Fest is currently happening. Go check out Steam. There's lots of game demos to try. So we'll have lots to talk about on Tuesday because we're all devouring game demos like crazy. And I did want to give a shout out to Lucas Lightbane because yes, I do hope in Star Citizen that there's a cave with an old knight and a bunch of cups at the end.
Who can we raid? How do I...
Kemi.
Is Kemi on?
Yep.
Okay. Eric, are you able to raid Kemi?
Kemi 65, right?
Yep.
Let's make it a thing. All right. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a good one and stay safe, eh?